Good morning, everybody. Cheers. Welcome. Brand new fresh brewed coffee. Yum. Just what the doctor ordered. Like to see on. Me. I got a doctorate since last week. Doctorate in opinions on coffee. Sorry. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Crazy Town. Yeah. Bit tired. Gonna be making a fool of myself today on stream. It's gonna be awesome. Everyone have a good week? Hope everyone had a good week. Hello, Fred. Fred Munden. Is Fred new? I think Fred might be new. I'm not sure. I see Brennan's here. Should be asleep. Go to sleep, Brennan. You need your brain cells for thinking during the day, not for watching my crappy streams. Fred is new. Well, welcome to my stream. Not sure this is the stream you wanted to be joining the first time. No, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Brennan says, yes, sir. No sleep, man. Don't need sleep. I used to be like that. Now I need lots of sleep. Okay. So, yeah, we're just going to wait a few minutes for people to join, for people to pop in. Can't see the stats on how many people are in. What is going on? Oh, it says 42 concurrent users. That's pretty good. You'll be asleep soon. I plan on sleeping during the stream today. I do my best work sleeping. Did you know that? Especially if it's really detailed work. One eye closed, it's okay work. Both eyes closed, it's my best work ever. Yeah. I have a problem I need to solve on my stream today, which I'm going to stupidly ask chat to help me, ask you all to help me, which I know never ends well. It never ends well. But yeah, you'll see what it is in a moment, or soon. And yeah, I'll do my best not to get frustrated with everyone. There you go. That's my promise. Is I'll do my best. I don't know how good that's going to be though. Yeah, I've got a 3D print going at the moment. Not much longer to go actually. 15 minutes to go. So if you can hear any noise from that, I apologize. Just lots of Speaking of 3D printing, wow, spoilers on the new Bamboo printer. Have you all seen? Are you all excited? Where's Matt? Matt's not here yet, pro engineer. He's was curious if we're going to chat about it on stream today. Very excited by the potential new printer. Last time I totally misunderstood what you needed help with. Time after time after. Hello, Martin. Yeah, I'm not always perfectly clear on my descriptions. I'll do my best today. Today's actually really simple. It's the thing I need help with is quite simple. I don't have a solution for it right now. And I'm hoping someone will. It might be, it's going to be simple to explain, not necessarily easy to implement, but we'll see. Yeah, I did. I saw the original leak, which I thought was more interesting than what Bamboo posted yesterday. I think Bamboo, after the original leak and what it showed, what it implied, I think what they showed in their marketing teaser was pretty vague and silly, really, because but what they showed, if that's a real picture, is different to what the leak was. So that's interesting. They could be, although the labeling of the printer was the same, they could be two different things, or they could be different upgrades for them, or whatever. I don't know. But although I don't need a bigger printer, I just beat Looney in Discord mini golf. Oh, you're such a gamer, Johnny. Well done. Well done. I don't need a bigger print volume, to be honest. But I'm after the dual head stuff is interesting, as long as it's not IDEX. I mean, I could have got an IDEX printer ages ago. But if it's a dual printer that allows for one printing while one is loading, unloading, that would be ideal. If they've nailed that, they're going to change the industry. If it's just a tool changer, well, a tool changer doesn't make a lot of sense if it's a two-head unit. I don't know. We'll see. I'm definitely keen to see what they've done. Hello, Ellen. Okay. Folks in the chat are Antonio, good morning. Johnny, yep, hello, Moo. Adam Bryant, woof. Rayburn, hello, Ray. Tech Quest, aka Jedi. Jedi Rayburn, hello. You haven't been in here for a while, have you, Ray? I don't think. Another couple of weeks. So welcome, Mr. England. Meow. It is meow time. Beata, hello. Yumbo Prime is making dinner. What are you making me? Brennan, hello. We already said hi. Dutch Taurus, hello. Sean Moto, meow. Michael, good morning. Michael, again, awake early. What are you doing? Surprised. And you too, Peter. Good morning, Peter. David Dessa, hello. X-Micron, hi. Red, yes, welcome to the first stream. Have a bow, hello. Martin, hi. Bruce, hello, Bruce. Round for a bit, and then square for the rest of the day. No, Ellen, hi. Cool. Well, that's not 47 people. Who's in chat that's low-key that hasn't said hi? Who's watching? Come and say hello in chat. I've been getting up at 6 for months. Okay, cool. Getting up and getting all your best work done at 6 in the morning. I'm a morning person, so like I'm quite happy working in the morning. Yeah, my evenings are for relaxing. And relaxing for me doesn't mean relaxing like normal people. But as long as I can get to bed with my book and read for a bit, an hour, 45 minutes, however long I can read until I fall asleep, then that's good. Dad joke out of the blue, harsh. Wait, who was the dad joke? Which one was it? Did I just do a dad joke? What did I say? If I did, I apologize. Or maybe was that the square one? Is that my dad joke? I don't know. Mostly waking at 5:30. Yeah, I wake early as well. If I wake early, like sometimes I'll wake at 3:30 and that's it. I'm done for the day. So I'll just read in bed. The square one. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. It wasn't a dad joke. It was just a lame joke. Like, there's some pretty good dad jokes out there. Not all of them. That was just lame. That was stupid. Stupid. Okay, so a couple of things. I mean, I'm just going to get started now. It doesn't look like many more people are going to join. So, I got my Tiny Watch P10 finally back in my store. I finished the case. That's the case. And look, there's tiniest little bit of flexing just in the corners you might be able to see. Hardly anything, like not even measurable with a pair of calipers. So I ended up making a locking mechanism. So the screen slides in on this side into like a little locking thing, a double-sided locking thing, and then screws in on this side. And I'm printing it with ABS, which has a lot less flex than PLA or PETG or I tried the the PLA CF from Bamboo, and I just couldn't print with it. I got one print that went all the way through without it stopping to feed, and about 17 attempts at a fail of prints. So I went to ABS, and I'm not a huge fan of the finish on ABS. It's a bit too shiny for me. You can't really tell on camera. The PLA, and especially the PLA CF, has a much more of a matte finish, but it works really well. It's really strong, and yeah, it's worked out really well. I made a video that I posted, shows how to disassemble and reassemble the watch. I didn't have any black ASA here left over. The black, I don't know. So I've never found black ASA. It's more like a darkish grey, and it's not a nice. I don't think it's a nice grey, personally. It's not like a dark charcoaly grey. It's anyway, but I didn't have any ASA anyway, and I had a filament reel, or brand new one of ABS, so I just used that. Always be selling. Hello, Stephen. So I had some think I've got some red ASA here. Anyway, it didn't matter. I wanted black cases. It worked really well. Very happy with it. Anyways, that's the watch. As you said, it's working. And yeah, so they're back in my store finally. And I printed a whole ton of cases. And I'm also now shipping them. Right, hang on. Okay. So all of my, let's go back to here. All the screens I buy for my Reflow Master Pros, right? They're the screens, right, with standoffs on them. Ping. Oh, it's got an order. They all ship to me in these plastic boxes, and they're really cool boxes, and I collect them. I've got many hundreds of them, and I've always wanted to ship something in them, and so now the tiny watches ship in these plastic bags. So they're still kind of wrapped up in bubble wrap, but they ship inside these now because I can protect them. They're much easier for shipping, and I get to reuse these cases, which is really cool. So yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that. Better put them back before I build piles of stuff everywhere. Anyway, so that's cool. That's back in stock. Just gonna put that over here, out of the way. Okay, so hello, Blam. Another person I haven't seen in a long time. How you doing, Blam? The price, you can probably put 3 more current bamboos next to each other instead of the what? For what price? We don't know the price though, do we? What? We don't know anything about it. March 25 is the... So I'll be interested. They're probably not going to do a Kickstarter, because I think their days of needing to do a Kickstarter are long gone. So I'm hoping they're just going to say, price has not been announced, rumors around 5k US. At 5k US, I'll buy a Prusa XL. This is the eSun ABS, according to Sora. The what? Hello, Christopher. I don't know however you pronounce that. Cute little avatar though. I guess cheap is relative. It depends what it gives. If it's a dual independent head, not IDEX, but dual meaning 2 different filament types, so 2 different heating levels, so you can do mixed filament. I'm more interested in mixed filament than multicolor. I don't like the fact that I don't like the wastage or the time it takes to switch filaments on the AMS, right? But the thing that really frustrates me is I want to do multi-material printing. So that would be my benefit at having a dual head. And so I can get a Prusa XL with 2 heads, but that's already at $5,000, $7,000 for me, Australian, by the time it lands. Either TPU parts to ABS or PLA, or for me, I want to be able to do mixed material for supports. So I used to do mixed material on the XL for supports, but one thing I didn't know was the residue when you use, for instance, so I kept getting weird banding sometimes. I used to do it with my previous tiny watch case, my P7 case, and I'd often get some weird ugly layer lines, and I couldn't work out why. And I found out why recently, that even though it does a purge between using PETG for like the supports and PLA for the prints, so they don't stick together, so the supports come off really nicely. But even though it does the purge and gets rid of the materials, what it doesn't do is there's oil and stuff from the different filaments left inside the nozzle, inside the heating, as it comes through, and that can contaminate and that's why you get weird layer adhesion lines in the PLA side after it's gone back from the PETG. And I saw a video about it. I can't remember who the video was from, and that explained why I had all these weird layer lines. So for me, I want to be able to print stuff that requires supports that come off really easily. That would be my ultimate thing, and that needs 2 different nozzles, as in 2 different tool heads, or yeah. So an IDEX printer might be able to do it, but they're not cheap either for a good one. Prosumers are probably really competitive priced. Yeah. Let's look what the stream starts, and will it started already? Hey, Platinum 21. Yeah, I can do it fine. Just move one. Yeah, I know, but it limits what it limits how much space you can use on the print bed and stuff. But yes, IDEX can do it. So the best IDEX printer I think out there right now, but again, it's up at the $5,000, $5,500 Australian for me, and it's a kit, is the Rat Rig. The Rat Rig printer with the IDEX option is probably the best IDEX, unless you go to a prosumer printer at $15,000 plus. But yeah, we'll find out soon. I'm looking forward to see what they come up with. They revolutionized things with the X1 Carbon, I think. You know, and it took all the other companies a long time to catch up. They have an opportunity to revolutionize things again. The XL, the Prusa XL, was a massive thing in terms of its you know, what it brought to the table, but at a very high price point with a lot of teething issues and problems at the start. You know, you can buy kind of Voron kits, and people are still working on multi-tool for Voron, but no one else has really done what Prusa's done on that space yet. But that's really far beyond what most consumers need, right? Or full DIY tool changing one, right? But I don't want to be building my own tool changing system and whatever and blah blah blah. Yeah, well, my print finished. Good. I'll grab it in a second because I'm gonna need. Okay, let's get into what this is about. Okay, about the being unhinged. Well, I'm actually hinged. I'm unhinged in being hinged, but I definitely need some support. Boom tish. So I'll show you a proper view in a moment. What I'm about to show you is a prototype. So 2 weeks ago, when I built this, which is my first revision of my square screen display, right? This is a non-touch screen, right? But, you know, display that goes like this, blah, blah, blah. And I got some pushback about the vertical USB. And why is it a vertical USB? It means you can't stick it into a wall and blah, blah, blah. And I was talking about how I don't like them coming from the side. And I had a very particular reason why it was a vertical USB, right? And why the buttons are like they are. Hey, Graham. Good morning. So I said I would explain it. I ended up redesigning the PCB, which I'm pretty sure I mentioned last week. I had to redesign the PCB because the screen, you can't tell the screen in hardware to rotate 180 degrees. So there's only one, so you need to physically orient the screen the way you want it to be shown. So if you want the red, hang on. Yeah, from the bottom. So the red is the red thing is the top. That's the top, right? So if you want people to read it normally, then the ribbon has to be at the bottom. You can't, and I designed this with the ribbon to be at the top because I didn't know that you couldn't flip. I knew you couldn't do 90-degree rotation with it in hardware, but they only had one of the two registers they need to flip it like to go like this. You can flip the X back to front so people can read it backwards, right? But you can't flip vertically. So I had to change the whole design to go that way. So I redesigned the PCB. They were supposed to be here. They're going to be here today, this afternoon. They're going to miss the stream. They would have been here on time, except typical JLC PCB. When you tell them, please use my stencil as is, please use my paste layer, do not make any changes, thank you. And then they email you with a bunch of questions about how they need to change your stencil. And you say, no, like I asked in the order, please make it exactly like I've provided it. Yeah, you lose a day and a half or 2 days whenever that happens. Hey, Amanda, good morning. So by the time they email you and then you reply, and then they give it to the engineer, and then they agree, and then they confirm, and then they do the production file, and then you get to inspect and improve the production file, I lost 2 days so that the boards were already done, other boards in the order, already done waiting, and the stencil held it up because they didn't read the order where it says make it exactly like I provided. It even says on their ordering page that if not specified otherwise, we will use, and you've provided a paste gerber, we will use your paste gerber. Well, not only did they not use it, but I specified to only use it with no changes. So that was frustrating. So I would have had the boards, I would have been building the boards today, and I could have been showing you stuff. They don't do this often. They do it like 1 out of every 4 or 5 orders of mine, but I order a lot of stuff. So it happens often. Right, so I don't get to build the PCB today, which means what I'm showing you today is a prototype, because until I have the new PCBs and they're assembled, I can't physically put this together. So what is it? Well, it's going to fall apart. It is what my product design is for this case, right? Here we go. I'm holding it together. It is this. Okay, firstly, this rod, it's an M2.5 steel rod. It's wide on purpose so I can grab it and pull it out, right? It won't be like this. It's just because I'm iterating on the case right now. It's so I can grab some pliers, grab it, and yank it out, okay? That's why it's like that. I'm going to cut myself on it. So this, it looks chunky. I know. Let's get it under the camera. Let me go under the camera. Okay, wait. Coffee time first. So, the screen is not stuck on, okay? It's just because, firstly, I'm not pulling the sticky off because I'm still iterating, and I don't have a PCB. When I have a PCB that goes here, this is not the PCB, but let's say it was, yeah? And it goes on like this, that'll be stuck to the screen. And then this will get attached to the case with the standoffs. Okay, where this, I probably won't stick the screen in. I can, but I won't, because that will give people the option of pulling it apart, right? So, right now, I can't attach the screen. If I stick the screen on this, I can't get it off again. So, I can't do that right now. But that's where the PCB goes, inside. Obviously, the screen is in there. This way, because that's the top. Yeah. And it is, well, it's designed to be sitting on a desk. So you view it. Right now, it's got a 5-degree angle. Like, you can't make it go straight. But I'm thinking of making it a 10-degree angle. So it'll be, but it'll default maximum 10, right? So the base, though, obviously with it down, you can hold it. The base needs, this is the very first iteration of the base. It's got square edges that have to be chamfered. I'm going to move some things around, right? So as you see, I broke the side when I was pulling the support material out. Just reprinted it and fixed it now. So it's a reverse flip phone. but it's not designed to be a phone, obviously. It's designed to be something that you can hold in your hand, touchscreen, whatever, yeah? Or you put on your desk for a, whatever it is, clock, home assistant, whatever, which is why the USB has to stick out the back. Now, if the USB sticks out the back, what do you do when it's closed? Well, I'll show you the CAD. We're going to work on CAD. But as you might be able to see, there's a little slot that the USB sits in, because it only sticks out a couple of millimeter, right? And the same with the buttons on the back. Okay, there are 3 buttons on the back: power, reset, and boot. They also have little slots that they fit into. Okay, and the base, you might be thinking, there's something in there. What is that? Well, the base is not currently screwed together because it needs to be. I'm going to rejig it, but I just open this. The base needs to be heavy when it's sitting on the bench. Right now, it's a bit too press fit. The base holds a battery, so it's portable. You don't have to put a battery on the device. You can just use it USB, but obviously if it's closed, you can't access the USB. No pogo pins, no pogos. Then obviously you can't walk around. Hey Matt, oh, you missed the whole printer conversation. Were your ears burning before? I said, where's Matt? We spoke about the bamboo inside, make it a triangle display. It would, there's all travel clocks. Yeah, but I'm not after something that works like that. So the case is hollow, and you can put a pretty decent sized battery in it. That's a 2000 milliamp hour battery, which fits with stacks of room, right? How does the cable go in? Well, there. Okay. Let me just, we're going to do some disassembly. This is why I've got it long, so I can pull it out. Okay. So they're the halves. We'll get to the reasons like that as well soon. I need a battery that's got an actual cable on it. Anyone? Here's a little battery. Yes, I ripped the cables off. I've been meaning to replace them, but I haven't got around to it. Here's a little battery. Doesn't matter. But it's got a JST PH on it. So the PCB's in here. The battery goes in here. Battery connector. If it fits. There we go. Okay. Which would then, assuming... Okay. So the whole board's been redesigned. The JST is not there anymore. It's actually on the side here. Okay, so it would be, this whole board is wrong, right? It doesn't fit this. It would plug in there, and it's got the slot inside here that it goes through. And then this bit holds the battery in place. So the battery can be changed. The whole point is that you can put whatever size you want, and the hole inside, whatever, and then it's like that. And so, obviously, I've taken the rod out, but that's how the battery fits in, right? So the battery's not designed to go inside the top because there's no room inside. I mean, there's only room for a tiny little battery, which would be pointless for a screen like this that's boosting to 27 volts for the backlight, even though it's only 20 milliamps. Still, so, and I could have made the bottom thinner, but I wanted, that's a 6mm thick battery, which, as you can see, there's plenty of room for, right? You can fit a 9, up to a 9mm battery in there. I wanted to give people the option, but I can make it smaller. And I'm planning on, today on the stream, refining this design, getting rid of this curve and making it a chamfer instead, because it'll print nicer, chamfering the outside edges to reduce it a bit. Hey Mike, good morning. To just make it feel nicer in your hand. But overall, it's not really that bulky. I think once I get rid of the squareness of the bottom, It's not really that bad. I mean, yeah, the sharp edge along here doesn't feel great. Yeah, I know which old-fashioned clock you're talking about. It's just not what I'm looking to do here. Um, yeah, Adam posted this one. Oh, is it wrong screen? That one. Yeah, it's not what I'm looking at doing. But it looks really hinged. Right, it's hinged, but it's unhinged because there's a fundamental problem with it. Can anyone pick what the problem is? There you go. There's the CAD. We'll get to the CAD in a moment. Can anyone pick the problem? Let me, I'll put this.
Amanda Thompson says, are you going to add a USB port on the base to be able to charge it when it is closed or open?
No. I can't. There's no electrical connectivity between the top and the bottom. So if you want to charge it, you open it. So if you want to charge it, it's got to be up to charge. For me, like this is designed, I want this open. Like I want this on my desk. Like my use case for this is going to be me interacting with it sitting on my desk, which could be like that, I guess. But I would have it in, no, that's not a USB issue. Well, obviously, okay. It's not designed to be closed with the USB connected, right? That's not a design flaw. That's intended. Feels weird seeing a metal axle as the hinge. Right, the problem with a print-in-place hinge is you can't pull it apart, right? And sure, I could use a piece of filament, but I'm designing something that's more of a finished product than this is not a one-off, right? And it's got to be something that people can open and close. Yeah, you can pull it apart, but only once. Right, so Blam's got it. Brennan was close. The problem with the hinge like this is that because it's a touch device, as you're touching it, you're effectively closing the hinge. Right? I mean, it's fine when it's closed, but I want it up. I want it looking at me, let's say at 15 degrees, like this, right? And I want it stiff enough that I can touch the screen and interact with it without it closing. And there are some obvious ways of doing that, but they won't last. The obvious ways is to have the little noggins on one side that kind of, fit into little grooves on another that as you rotate them, it kind of, locks into 5-degree steps. But doing that with 3D printed parts, they'll wear out very quickly. So, that'll be great for maybe the first 3 or 4 times you open close it, but you'll eventually just wear it out. So that's not really a solution. Right, so as Mike said, it needs a support leg, and I've had a couple of ideas on that, including using a spring with a spring-loaded thing. So I wasn't looking at a rotary spring because I don't like sourcing them and then I don't want to make it a really difficult product to put together, right? But, maybe a rotary spring, but even a simple spring that had a pole that sticks up. So let me go to, okay, I'll move this off. Let's go to CAD. And I haven't decided on anything. So here's the thing. I only designed this yesterday. I came up with this idea in my head. Right. This design, although obviously exactly what it looks like now, only came about yesterday. But when I first ordered these screens, I got these so what are we now, March? So October last year, I got these delivered. They've been sitting around since October last year until, whenever I started working on this first PCB. I had no time to do anything with them. So I had 2 screens sitting here, a touch and a non-touch. Bought one of each because I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. I just knew I wanted to make something. And back then, I wanted to make something that sat on my desk that I could interact with. and I didn't know what that was going to be, right? At the time, it wasn't going to be a hinge in my head. It was just going to be something that was permanent, right? Like a permanent shape that the screen was stuck to at the back, and it sat on your desk. You couldn't fold it down or anything. And that was what I had in my head. But who doesn't like having portable stuff, right? Something like this is portable. It requires a big battery, and then something that sits on your desk, even if you can pick it up and move it, it's not portable anymore, right? So what are the screens and how do I get one? AliExpress, anywhere pretty much. They're just the RGB panels, 4-inch. These are 480 by 480. But I wasn't going to share this, but I will. I have here in front of me. Now you can get MIPI ones. This is not the MIPI ones. I have 720 by 720 screens. Touchscreen. Same size. Different driver. Different touch IC. Same ribbon cable interface. Different layout on the back. Different shape. So this will not go into this current case. The screen is, the backing is longer. But anyway, 720 by 720. I don't have a driver for it. I'm going to have to come up with a custom driver and whatever. That's for another day. Mini clothespins or crafts. Yeah, that's not doable as a product. Like, so this is design. It's designed to be a product, something that I manufacture and sell, right? And then something that potentially other people can, if I release the CAD files for the case, people can modify whatever. You know, I don't particularly want to be putting in. So it's not just a spring. It needs to be able to hold the screen at whatever angle people want to put it at, right? So what's interesting is the only device I know of that can do this, even though you can't use the screen at different angles, or most angles you can't, is the Nintendo, the DS and the DS Lite. I don't know if anyone ever owned a Nintendo DS or DS Lite. Nintendo, I've probably got a DS. Nintendo DS. Right. These. Somehow, so these have just got plastic and metal for their hinge, right? And that's all they have. And these have the ability to hold the screen at any angle really, really well. The viewing angles are limited to, like, of the whole, let's call it 170 degrees, because when it's open, it can't go perfectly flat, but it's close, right? So it goes closed to like 170. And of those, your viewing angle is maybe 10 degrees inside that. So the screens weren't very good, right? Right, they do really well until the hinges break, but they take a lot of abuse. They take opening and closing daily for, you know, a long time before the screens go, before the hinges go, and they don't have anything fancy. Well, no one knows what, I mean, I have to get one and pull it apart, but it's just using plastic and a metal rod. So I would love to know how they do it. Like, it'd have to be such precise friction involved, which I just can't get on 3D print. So that and the DS Lite, which was bigger, is the only one that I'm aware of that can actually do it. Lock cog, not designed to click to reduce wear. So I've been thinking of different ideas, and that they all involve very complicated assembly, but I'm willing to do that if it's going to work. But I need to, you know, but thinking of the ideas and actually implementing them are not the same, right? So I figured I would ask here. So let's just go over just a couple of things first, right? So you can see the different parts here. I've got, at the moment, it doesn't open all the way because it's got this lip here. This is what decides the maximum angle. You can get hinges for $1 or so. I repaired a few when the kids were small. Hinges for what? For the DS. I'm not looking at it as separate hinges because I got no way of... I don't want to attach a hinge to this. I wanted to design something into the case. So I'm just reading back. Okay, yeah, I missed it there. So this is how it all kind of looks, right? I've got that part, and then I've got that part there. That's where the cable for the battery goes through. This one's like, but again, hey Rando. Yeah, I need something that I need to design a mechanism in. Swaps to a simple fold-out leg. Right, so I thought about a fold-out leg, but, you know, I could definitely do a fold-out leg. Let me, okay, so I'm going to I'm going to rotate this. Let's put that on. So 85's not enough, like 5 degrees is enough. I'm going to make it 15. Just bear with me. Oh, wait. I'm just going to I'm not using joints to do this at the moment. These are not separate components on purpose. I'll worry about that another time. So 5, 10, 15 degrees. Right. If that's the default angle, let's just say, rename this 75 degrees. Leg is kiss. Right, but a leg might break. And where does the leg come out from? And people got to remember to close it. And here's mantle reversing here. Some of those generic Chinese Tuya chain. Well, not me. Oh, really? I like to make stuff have one. Through the hinge that could stay put in a position. The thumbnail will tell a lot. I mean, I've done the very first video I did was about a support leg that popped out of a 3D case. The very first video on my channel, right? It's not, like I've done stuff like this before. This is different though. Potentially, okay, but sure, I could have a leg. Okay, so I can't have a leg that folds out necessarily, not with the design it is right now. Well, I guess if the leg was further in, it can't be on the edge because I don't have the room. But okay, if it was along here, right? Because I've got the curve, the leg can't come down any further than this point here. So the angle for it to come out and swing around, it won't be able to support, it won't work, right? The leg has to be longer or the angle has to be more. Does that make sense? In the hinge itself, did he? Okay. I don't, okay.
Alan Madsen says on Discord live stream, I love how Stream Deck has done it.
Okay, I'm having a look now. Oh, okay, you did. Okay. I'm not sure I can understand from this. Right, they got the kick leg that sticks out. With
Alan Madsen says, just say if you want other pick.
Right, so they got a kick leg that whatever that comes out and sits in the slot, but that only works at extreme angles. If you look at that angle, that won't work if this is like, okay, maybe to this one here, but that kick leg is going to be really long. Look at it. I don't have the ability to do a kick leg like that. I'd have to make this thing, you know, if the leg was like 5 millimeters thick, I'd have to make this whole thing at least 5 millimeters thicker. Hole in the bottom part with the battery cable hole, push TPU rubber plugs. Put two hole the bottom part of the battery cable hole, push TPU rubber plugs into those holes. When the top hinge part is pushed down onto the rubber buttons. I don't understand where the rubber is. You mean rubber around the rod so it doesn't slip as much? Is that what you're saying? Okay, remember, I don't want to add someone else's hinge, right? It's got to be designed into this, like, yeah, ideally, like, I mean, right now, you know, obviously I've got to, you know, push this rod in and out with a pair of pliers, but I don't, no, up from the bottom, but how does that work? How does it then close? How does it fold down if there's something in the way? It needs to be able to close still. So if there's something holding it there, then it's going to prevent it from closing. Hello, Half Greek Geek. Beam me up, Scotty. Sorry, there's a lot of people offering suggestions. I'm trying to read them all. I don't want to miss people. Back to the leg thing. The leg will only work if it extends far enough. Yeah, I don't think that'll be enough to hold it, John. And it'll make it too hard to close and keep together, I think. Make a box for display and then design a stand after. Huh? I think like a curtain rod, ends at say 4 holes. And when you press in, the ends of the hinge pins release. Right. So I thought of something like that, Sean, but press in doesn't work. I need it the other way around. So if press in disengages that locking thing, right? So it's got to be on a spring then, so it pops back in. That's so. Keep in mind, everybody, this is a. Okay, what? Let me show you there. This rod is 2.5 millimeter diameter. I don't have any space to put anything fancy around there with any type of locking. We're talking about a millimeter of stuff, right? It's a tiny little area, so I can't. I'm not going to be able to get any press mechanisms with things that disengage with springs inside and stuff. Like I'd have to make that whole hinge section twice as big to fit all that stuff in. 2 semicircles of the top case. 2 semicircles to the top case near the hinge pins on the ends there. 2 I don't understand. Hoop embedded into the base. A beach chair mechanism. Small hoop beach chair. I'm sorry, I'm lost on that one. You got to remember how small this is, folks. Let's go back to here. No, wrong one. This mechanism is really small. If I have to, I don't have any room to fit anything fancy here. If I'm gonna, if I need to make this whole, you know, if I need to go up to M3 rod or M4 for a bigger, chunkier thing, it's going to add massive amount of size to this whole thing. It'll end up being huge just to accommodate the hinge. Or I need to make the thing longer so the hinge is out here on this side of it, over here. The problem with that is then it's never going to sit nicely like this. It's going to have to make everything longer. Stings and ball. I don't know what springs and balls. No, it's the rod is 2 millimeters and the outside of it is 1 millimeter. I don't have any cavity that can go around the rod that can fit inside, is what I'm saying. It's I don't have anything against it being bigger. Well, I can't envisage a solution that involves doing some type of pushing in and locking and mechanism that goes around the hinge section, right? That won't require a massive size increase. We're not talking about 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters. We're talking about 8 to 10 millimeters. This whole thing is only 22 millimeters tall. If I have to add 10 millimeters to it, right? I'm increasing its size 50% to accommodate a different hinge. Like it would have to be the best mechanism in the world to justify an extra 50%, I think. Instead of rod. Wait. How is springs helping me instead of a rod? I don't. You'd have to draw me a picture, Adam. Like it's sorry. It's I don't understand. On the bottom of the case with a press button. Sean, your pins on the bottom case with like a press button that locks into the semicircles on the inside. Draw me a picture. Sorry, I kind of get it, but I don't like. I don't get where that would fit in. I'll send a sample design tomorrow that will work with printed parts and no changes to your footprint. At least it could be an option. Thanks, Brennan. Appreciate it. Half Greek geek. So it's a nylon insert. I thought it was metal. Okay, nylon insert that has a flattened cam on one side. Is there a reason not to do an A? Yeah, because I don't want an A-style design. It's not what I'm after. So, you know, a solution to a design problem should never be change the design. That should never be the solution, right? I mean, I've designed this like it is with the intent that whatever, and changing its design to be an A that only works in one angle isn't the solution. I have many ideas which I've used myself, but no way to draw. Draw on your computer and screenshot. How big millimeter is the box? You need to have all the electronic in it. Kidsune 180-degree foldable laptop just has 2 hinges. Yep. Can you show us a cross section perpendicular to the hinge axis in the middle of the? Yeah. I believe so. If I can remember how to do it. Um, section analysis. Send it from the other side. Oh, hang on. I just realized you're not looking at my screen. Sorry. Hang on. That's not where I want it. I need to move it. So that's 2.5. So this is like 1 point something, right? Not a lot of space. Simple iPhone stand.
Alan Madsen says see chat.
Yeah, yeah, but I again, I can't do that, Alan. That's that whole mechanism there. Firstly, would eat into that. I would need all that extra height because I don't have any way. I can't put that into the height I've already got anywhere, right? And not quite the elegant solution I was looking for, but sure. I mean, that is something that it could be, but that takes me back to an AE design, which is not what I wanted. And yeah, again, like that's, you know, a lot of additional height. Like I'd like to see if I can do that as a, just make it in a box and then make it in a box. But that's not what I'm after. Again, the solution to how do I solve this isn't make something totally different. That's not the solution. I didn't ask everyone what else can I design instead of this. I'm looking at how I can implement something on this. Okay, so it doesn't need a lot, right? Like it's 60% there already. I just need a way to make it have more friction, right? If it's not going to be a stand or a leg or whatever, I need a way to yeah, like you know what it could be? It could be something as simple as a rubber grommet that goes over the thing in the middle section. That is, where's my, you know what I mean? Like the solution doesn't have to be, okay, I've got this section here, it's quite long, right? That's like 40 millimeters, this whole middle section of the hinge. Okay, so maybe inside there's a 10 millimeter or a 20 millimeter section, right? That's whether it's probably wouldn't do TP. I'd probably just buy a rubber grommety thing, whatever, right? So maybe there's a grommety thing that goes in the middle, okay, that, you know, makes it like, you know, that's really, you know, what's that stuff on? It's not like foam, but the really rough stuff. Like it's really rough rubber. Yeah. It needs to be a reasonably strong mount, but the touch on this is it's a cap touch. It's very responsive. Right. I mean, it could be something as simple as that. Just a rubber grommet that this goes through. The problem would be, I don't want this to slip around the grommet. So if it has to be glued on, then that's a problem because then it can't be disassembled. The base rod and holder and screen in cross section, some TPU. Have some where, sorry? Are you talking about where have I got space? Are you talking about this gap here? The gap between the base rod holder and the screen. I don't really have. So my original plan, you see how I've got this really close? My original idea was to have this have like a like teeth, not, you know, not teeth, but bumpy, yeah, and have this into the corner of it. So it does that locks, bang, 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 right? Up and down. That was my original. That's why I've got that bit there so close. And it could have been that, or it could have been here, or it could have been both. With grip paint used on stair treads for extra non-slip. Right, but I still have to get the rod in and out. Okay, so let me get to another thing. So the reason why, let me just turn that off. The reason why I want this to be disassembleable is I'm thinking about an add-on for this that would allow you to put it on a Visa mount. So Visa mount can be 200 by 200, 100 by 100, 75 by 75, and 50 by 50. There's 4 different sizes for Visa. I know that 100 by 100 is the most common for a monitor, but 50 by 50 is also part of the standard. So where the bumps and screen corner would be. Right, but where's the TPU? I don't understand where the TPU is going to go. Sorry. Where's the TPU? I can't do multi. I'm not doing a multi-print where I've got TPU and whatever attached to each other. So the TPU would be what? The solution can't be something that I need a different printer for, or that I can't, for instance, get these manufactured. I can't get them printed at JLC, or other people can't print them, right? Tripod mount screw nut too. You could do anything, right? The whole point is that this whole section here, oops, this section here could effectively be pulled off the base, because the base is only for the desk and battery, and it could be mounted to something else, right? Whether there's a, holes, Visa mount holes here, or there's a single thing here that you attach another bracket of a Visa mount to. You know what I mean? So that there's an opportunity to extend this for other uses, which is what people were asking about the other week. How about offset washers, i.e. thicker on one side like a cam? They tighten when pulled open. Which, meh. I would just use the JC Hinge that is used. Do you have a link, Amanda? And I'll make you a mod. You said you found them on Alley. You're a moderator now. But again, you say just use a Hinge. It's got to be something that can be. Well, I need to see what they look like. Is this it here? I don't know what these are. I don't how they. I don't understand how they get attached. Oops, wrong one. How would I do that? View more. Oh, there's no mechanical pictures. Okay, so I don't have 6mm at all. But I still don't understand how that, like this, like the case parts have to be attached to this. So it's whatever this size is plus. I'd need to see how this is attached. Why not make it bottom part visa mount? Hey Stefan, what? Sure. Could be. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the whole point is, yeah. I mean, whichever part I make, whatever. If I make the bottom part visa mount, then I've got a hinge on the top bit, so you could, you got it up on here, and then it can open and flop down. I'm not sure it makes sense having a hinged item on a visa mount. Black part gets shoved into a plastic tube with flattened sides. Right. So whatever the dimensions of that is, plus the bit that fits around that, is going to be 2/3 the size of my case currently. I posted 2 drawings in Discord. Cool. Thank you. Let's have a look. Yep. Right, but what's this one going against? Firstly, I can't print this, right? This can't be attached, so it'd have to be a separate piece that gets mechanically added. But so what's this rubbing against? Like, isn't that going to be the same problem? Oh, that wasn't yours? Okay. Sorry. Oh, that's Matt's. Right, okay. Sure, I mean, well, it doesn't take no space. It takes a lot of, this takes a lot of space and removes the ability to have the top section open of the bottom, right? People need to be able to insert a battery. So that would then require, but yeah, that won't fit these, but how will that fit that bottom slot? How would this, if that goes to that, this is not long enough to do that. Well, it won't be wire. Where am I going to get wire from that's in that shape? Like if I have to go and bend coat hangers to, you know what I mean? Yeah, sure, and I'll have to increase the price of each one of these things by $50 each because I'm sitting here bending metal bits. Like I'm not producing 100,000 of these where I'll get someone else in China to make them, right? It needs to be something that I can make. Okay, sure. You want to send me one for free? I mean, I don't want to be, as I said, I don't want to be buying a new printer to do it, and I don't want to be investing in tooling to do it. Yeah, I'm not after a project. And also that's, yeah, okay. So this one, yeah, I'm not sure how that would. I mean, I get it, but I don't think that's gonna. I don't have the again printing a TPU bit onto it. There'd have to be something that was insert. I mean, they're all options for sure. Yeah, I'd need to watch this video. Right, so the springy thing where you push it to the side and rotate and it locks back in. So that's what I was saying before about you need to push and do it. Okay, whether it's a push or a slide, that could work as well. Though you got to consider that I don't have like that's diameter is like double or triple what I've got to work with right now. So, but sure. So the problem with that is, I guess I wouldn't need the rod then at all for that. Interesting. So if the rod is removed, because it just needs a spring here, and the spring holds it closed, and the locking thing stops it from turning. And when it's unlocked, so when it's compressed like that, I guess it still needs a bit of a rod. Otherwise, it'd just fall out, right? You'd be able to pull it apart. Anyway, Patron is wrong for your case, though. Sure, but something. So I was already thinking of something like that where you push from the side, it disengages something. But again, the amount of space I've got, even if I increase the diameter a couple of millimeters, the amount of space I had wouldn't be like you'd break these teeth on mine. They wouldn't be strong enough, right? Because you'd be talking about teeth that were, a millimeter each. They'd just rip off. But so I was already thinking something like that. I just couldn't work out how I'd get that inside and so small. A lock has a separate parts that slide on. Right, but then you got to pull the lock off to move it, and then you can lose the lock bit if it comes off. Well, I don't have any fingers at the moment. Color maker, hi color maker. Just make it wider. Is this going to be a silly one? Ugh, okay. Yeah, I'm not looking at stuff like this. Thanks. It's not what I'm wanting at all. Press the round button and it releases. Press the round button. What round button? Wait, what did I miss? Telescoping plastic tube. Telescoping plastic tube. Telescoping plastic tube. I'm sorry. I'm rattling an idea in my head. Rattling an idea in my head. So push, spring, push, spring. Okay, so what about this? Okay. I'm trying to think. I'm gonna have to butcher this project. So instead of butchering it, I'm going to back it up. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to butcher the copied one. Free moving hinge with a screw on the side. Requiring someone to tighten and untighten something isn't really what I want to do. Again, It's going to be, wait, where did I put it? I've got an idea. I have an idea. It's a combo of a few of them. Let me just rename this, rename it to khaki. I have an idea. ChatGPT. It'll tell me how to program it in JavaScript. Badly. Okay, so what about this? What's if there was, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do this? Let me think. So the rod. Okay, if the rod was shorter, say 10 millimeters, and there was a, I'm not going to try to, hang on. Sorry, I need to think while I'm doing this. If I go 8 millimeters, but as a new body, and we're going to call this, because I'm sure there's a thing that lets you do a spring, but if we're gonna pretend that's a spring, because I don't know how to generate a spring in here. I'm sure there's a way. And so I'm gonna make it just, oops. Take it, whatever. I just want it to stand out. Okay. So if that's a spring, a 10 millimeter spring, yeah? And this bit was closed here. Is that end I want to do it? Maybe. I probably wanted to do this on the other end, but that's okay for now. Just for now, right? So if this was closed, what do I have? What's selected? What just happened? I don't know what just happened. Extrude to there. No. Okay, so that's closed. There's a spring in here, yeah? I don't know how it would work with this thing here, but let's say there was a spring and this rod, okay? And this rod had a whatever. There could be a button on it. Whatever it is, right? There's something, it sticks out a bit on the side that you can push, okay? So right now you can push this and it's going to spring back and forwards, yeah? But it's going to fall out as well. Well, that's okay, because what we have here is, inside on this face here, we could have all the grooves like a disc. So if we had, I'm really just hacking this together, right? I'm doing a terrible job of hacking this together. Really? Okay. And I want to go create circular pattern, center point is there, and I want, I don't know, how many positions? 11 positions. Okay. If I had 11 positions, and okay, it's the shape's not right. It's totally not right. Okay, but and I had that there, and then on this bit, hang on, I need a, let me go back to here, sketch, and circle. Okay. But I put it right there. Okay, so on this side, bloody hell. It's not letting me select them. Sorry. I said I'm hacking this together. Normally I'd isolate it and do it, but it's one of those things. One of those things. Okay. Do my head in. Go away. But now I don't know which way it goes. Minus, I don't know. No, 4. Give it a bit of chunk. A bit of chunk. And, right, I didn't want to do that. I want that to be, no. I want it to be a new body. New body. 4. I'm not looking at chat at the moment, I'm sorry. -1. I know it looks ugly. It looks ugly, yeah? But, again, the problem is how do you get it all together? But if this... Where's the rod? So with that, with the spring, that would allow you to push the rod, yeah, and have it disengage here. So you push, you can rotate, and then let go, and it would lock back in. So push and lock, and this would be attached to the rod, and this would prevent the rod from falling out. So I'm reading back now. Add a pin to the axle in that space. Add a pin. I don't know what that means. And the disc can have grooves for the pin. Can you something like that pogo pin instead of a spring? No, it didn't need to be a spring. Like a pogo wouldn't last. One of those to lock. Huh? Well, no need to drill the axle. No, no need to drill the axle. 3D print like that. Parallel lines. Rod wouldn't be removable anymore. No, I know that. I know it wouldn't be, but this is a start. This is a start for a mechanism, okay? But the whole point is this fits with what I've currently got. How would I get it inserted? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. But, and how would it come out again? Good question. Okay, so what's if just because the whole hinge I've got right now doesn't have to be all of that. Like I've got this whole, see, I've got, you know, it's hinged this big section here, and then it's hinged, it's held here and here and here and everywhere, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be. Like it's held here. It's held here. I didn't need that bit there. I just put it there, right? As a guide. So where's the bit that right. So that's the bit that locks in. So what I need is a way to, wait, hang on. Have I done it on the wrong side? Oh, sorry, I didn't make any room for it from the base. Okay, so the base would have to come back now. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, that base needs to, which ends the spring? There. So it needs to be able to have enough room to go back, however that much is, right? So like, let's say it's like that. I don't know. No, it only needs enough for to be compliant, to disengage. Just needs enough to disengage. Okay, that's better. So unlocking by sliding the male connector, not pushing the axle. No, you're pushing the axle. You're pushing the axle from this end. That one. Okay, you're pushing the axle from here. Yeah, so it's locked in here. And you're pushing it in to the spring, which disengages this. And it disengages to there. So that's the problem. The problem is you can't get that out. So what's if there were two halves? Yeah, it's only 2.5 millimeter. Make the pointy bits wedge. Oh, yeah. Just need, what? And a spring behind it. The things would be wedge shape anyway, whatever. Then I just did it roughly, right? That they won't be like they look like now. This was it's just a prototype, right? They won't look like that. They'll break off. But the spring thing won't help. The spring won't help because it's got, what's it being held? It's got to be attached to the top or the bottom. And if there's a spring on it, it needs to be able to move. It can't be attached to either. It's got to be the rod that moves. If the rod doesn't move, then there's nothing for it. Could the pin be swapped for a long bolt nut? Not at 2.5 millimeter. It can't be. But that doesn't matter. I don't want... I can get threaded. I don't want threaded. If the springs are around the axle... If the spring are around the axle next to the connector... Huh? Connector's a small part. I still don't get, if the axle isn't moving, then there's nothing that can be open or closed that can be attached. Okay, please draw it, because I don't understand. What I'm looking for right now is, how do I make this so it can be disassembled? So what's if... So the problem with disassembling is it's got to come through here as well. So what's if the spring was back here, inside the base bit, and let's move this to there. So the spring goes in, spring is in, and so let's say there was a second, like 2 rods, one from each end. So there's 1 rod on this end that goes halfway. There could be whatever. And then on this side, the spring goes in this bit. The rod can be inserted. Maybe not. Grub screw on the tooth ring. On a little tiny 3D printed part. Yeah, that it's we're talking tiny. Yeah. I'm not sure a grub screw will work. I mean, possibly, but I don't think so. I think, look, we're onto something here. I think we're onto something. So tension, and will only allow you to keep it open. The spring will be... What do you mean? Right now the spring is not tension. You got to push this to compress the spring, which disengages this section. And which disengages this. So it's only in tension when you push it. I don't think how that would be attached. He'd insert the printed part. Yeah, it's too big. You would need a catch to keep it closed. What do you mean? It's always locked in place unless you push the rod. I don't understand what you mean. This will always be engaged with the other half. These two will always be engaged in its default position unless you push the rod and compress the string to unlock it. That'll allow you to move it. So wherever this is engaged to, that'll be locked in place. Just a pin with the center hinge raised in the middle. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking now. Yeah, there wouldn't be teeth. That I just prototyped it. That whatever they are, You got to remember, it's not that there's a lot of tension on them, because it's not. Like, we're talking about, okay, just to be, I mean, I can't prevent someone from pushing on it, right? Let me just put this back in. I can't prevent someone from being an idiot on the device, but okay, so here it is here. Okay, I've pulled it in and out so many times, okay? But in terms of touching the screen, it's like this, right? You're not putting a lot of pressure on it. So, and you're not wearing it by doing this because you're disengaging it. So when it's disengaged, it's fully free to move. I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem, but sure, I'd have to experiment with the shape. So dark, okay, let's go back to here. Dark blue are the spring. Axles are fixed, only connector moves. So where's the connector? I don't understand. You've got a base and a hinge. What's attached to what? So you're saying that the whole top slides like what's his name was doing, you know, like to make stuff. That's what you're saying? I have to slide the two parts to the side to rotate it and then let go and then lock it. So the two halves of the case move. Is that what you're saying? I mean, that Then how do you disengage it? Again, I don't understand. Okay, one of these has to be attached to the base and one of these has to be attached to the top. But one of them has to be attached to the base and one has to be attached to the top. If this is not attached to the top, how's it stopping the top from moving? I don't understand what's not moving. And also don't understand how this, okay, but if this moves freely to lock or unlock it, when this is locked, how is it stopping the lid from moving? Unless the lid is attached to it. But we're trying to stop the hinge from rotating. How is that stopping it from rotating? What rotates when that's disengaged? And what rotates when it's... is what I'm asking. This has to slide. If that slides, then I don't understand what is attached to what. What's fixed to the lid? Sorry. You need to explain. I'm asking explicitly, right? Saying I didn't draw that doesn't help me. Like, what part is attached to what? On a hinge, there's two halves, like two things, like a door, or in this case, the bottom and the top that have to hinge. So half the hinge is on the top, half is on the bottom. I'm saying half, whatever. That locking mechanism has to be one half locking the other half. Could the entire rod be replaced with a long M3 screw with a nut on one end and just use... No. Firstly, because I don't want to put an M3 screw in there and an 80mm M3 screw, whatever. And I don't want it to be something that someone has to tighten and loosen to adjust. that, yeah, I want something that back to your own solution. It's not stopping the rod from rotating. The rod is irrelevant. Well, other than in my solution, this bit here has to be attached to the rod. Okay, bit of glue, what, I don't know, whatever, or a super tight friction fit, like, you know, really tight, hammered it on, whatever. That bit there has to be attached to the rod, which why it becomes a problem inserting it, right? Like how do you pull it apart or put it together? Putting it together is fine, pulling it apart again, whatever. Consider small steel balls in the channels in the rod. Small, but what are the balls going to do? And the rod with that ring can just rotate with the lid. Hmm. Attach the. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Um. Right. Right. But it doesn't have to be a permanent attachment. So, for instance, sorry, I just had to go through that in my head. So this here has to be constrained by, not attached to. So, for instance, okay, let's say it was to this section here. This could be, for argument's sake, oh God, I know I'm making a mess here, right? Okay, just bear with me. Bear with me. Okay. And
Cian, Chad has disconnected.
okay. I know this is just bear with me, bear with me. Okay. Whew. So let's say this piece, oop, wrong one. So that, come on, select both sides. Extrude to there. So let's say it looks like that, okay? And then we've got this. So it's badly drawn. I know it's badly done, okay? However I do it. But it'd probably have to be to the base. But this can be constrained by this, okay? So when that rotates, it forces this thing to rotate, right? It's constrained by, but not attached to. And it can slide. It can slide independently because it's not attached. But it's in a channel that constrains it. Did I just do the wrong axis? I did the wrong axis. Try that again. Move. Okay. God, what? I hate these handles. Okay. So it can slide this way to unlock. Yeah. So push, slides to unlock. Okay. But it's still constrained. Still constrained. Okay. Because this thing would be longer. It'd be however long it needs. Yeah. So no matter where this goes, when it disengages, it's still constrained inside that thing. However it's going to work. It'll probably be on the other side. Okay. So that does that. And when it's rotated, the lid's rotated, this rotates because it's constrained with that along the axis, along the rod. And then it gets put back in again. I don't want it screwed and unscrewed. I don't want people having to screw and unscrewed. I don't know, unless you mean by disassembling it. I don't want people to have to loosen a screw to rotate and then tighten a screw. Unless I missed something. Having the spring next to the moving part. Right, but I was asking you, how does your sliding part attach to the screen? And you didn't have that. Right, that's what I was asking you. I was asking you how this compliance system would work. I still don't understand how the screen, but how the axle, hang on. But you'd still, okay, once again, how is this going to move? How do you move this? Oh, it's old. Right, so there's got to be something physically on, but, okay. But you can't get to that. That's covered. There's a screen in front of that. There's no access for that front there. It can't be something like that someone has to grab and move. Why would you do that as opposed to a button on the side that's out of the way? Like this is blocking. You don't have access inside there. But either way, I don't understand what difference it makes. You still can't assemble this. This still can't be pulled apart. because you can't insert the rod from halfway. But it doesn't solve the assembly problem. You've got one rod on this side. You've got a spring, but how does this get in? When you've got the two together, how do you get this rod in? I still don't understand how that gets assembled. Because it's got to be attached to the rod. But this has to be attached to the rod. It's got to be fixed with the rod. If the rod moves, this moves. If this doesn't move, then the whole thing can slide around the rod anyway. I see what you're saying. Not attached to the rod. Okay, well, that's the same with mine. Well, I still prefer the button from the side, but I can do the button from the side and still make it. If it's going to be, if it doesn't need to be attached to the rod, then disassembly is easy on either case. Mine works just as well, but I don't have to do the 2 half rods. I can do the single rod with the spring in the end the same way. Because nothing's attached. Does that make sense? So either way will work, but I much prefer the push from the side. I mean, it can have a nice cap on it. Huh? Well, meaning it can be tight, super tight friction. Was what I meant. Not freely moving, like as in loose. Yeah, having something that someone has to grab from the side. Look, I don't know. I just either way. Look, either way, I think we have an option. We have a solution. Hopefully, we have a solution. So this solution, apart from needing a spring, which, you know, I'm sure I can find a spring somewhere. I can go down to the hardware store and get a little spring. I think this is the, other than the spring, this is all this needs, right? Just a little ballpoint. I don't think I've got a clicky ballpoint here. Maybe I do. I'll have to look. Maybe I might have one downstairs. Why do you need to push? What do you mean? I don't want it to be held in place with friction. I want it to be held in place locked. I don't understand. I don't want two things that go clunk, clunk, clunk. Right? Because that wears out. I want something that gets disengaged and re-engaged. When it's engaged, it can't move at all. It's not a friction thing. It can't move at all. And when it's disengaged, it can move freely and then back in place. And it won't be teeth like that. As I said, those teeth were just a prototype. It'll be something that's a, you know, less positions, chunkier, very, you know, much easier to fit in place and out again, right? Like it won't be something that you can push really hard and snap them off. Well, hopefully anyway. There's not a lot of size here. Or something that's really, yeah, anyway, I don't know. I don't know what I'll be able to print that'll work. Meanwhile, my print finished forever ago. So, just to something that I hadn't shown, that one. So the thing with this print, this updated print, is I added, if I can get the support out, let's get this out. Come on, support. Okay. So this grill thing on the side, for those who want to know what that is for, it is for a speaker that sits in there that connects to, that's for the I2S audio. It's a speaker grill. And these are the speakers. Hey Dave, these are the speakers that I use in my RGB Touch. They're really good, really loud, and very clear speaker. So it's only mono, obviously. But I added the I2S audio, the switchable I2S audio on my updated design. So that's what that is for. That sits, and I hope I've got enough clearance, but I won't know till I get my PCB, because this won't fit, because it's the wrong thing. Clicky, pen, springy, reject shop. Yeah, I can get springs, sure. 2 pins. What? You might consider small spring-loaded pogo pins. I've got stacks of pogo pins. They won't last the uses of them. I don't need such. It's an M2.5 rod. I just need a small spring, like a proper spring. Pogos are no good for something like this. And I've got a very large assortment of pogos. So anyway, that fits in there. That'll be doubly sided tape stuck down permanently, because this can be added and removed. Yeah. I still don't know if look, I might have to make this whole bottom section a bit longer, a couple of millimeters or something, to accommodate a better locking. Like, there's not a lot of, so this whole locking mechanism we're talking about has to fit here. Like, that's tiny. Like, I don't think I'm going to get something that's going to fit and actually lock. Like that thing, the diagram I did, you got to remember that's like a 4 millimeter diameter. 4 millimeters. That's it. That's not going to work. I'm going to need something chunkier. But I really don't want to make this whole case chunkier. Yeah. Interesting problems. And I totally get that I make this hard for myself because of my design constraints. I get that, right? But I'm the type of guy that, I want to see if I can solve my design, not change my design so I don't have to solve it. That's why I was losing faith. Because of the size. So the biggest issue here is the PCB. The PCB goes right to the edge. It's sitting off. There are standoffs, right? So there's room for this here, but this length. Oh shit! You can't see what I'm doing. I'm sorry. Try that again. The PCB goes all the way down to here. It actually goes over this channel section here, right? But this is not in the way because the PCB is off that. They're the standoffs, right? So the PCB is away. There is gap there. There's like a 5mm gap from this back wall to the PCB. But that's it, 5mm. So this is already a 5.3mm radius. Yeah, it'll limit how many fixed positions. I'm happy to only have 2 fixed positions, right? Closed and open at 15 degrees. But having 3, like 15 degrees, 35 degrees, and closed might be enough. Like, you know what I mean? I don't need a lot of positions. Well, I don't think it's going to need a lot of positions. If I flipped it the other way around, if this thing here was on this side, facing the other way, and the spring was here, be inserted spring, I reckon I could pull it apart and open it. Possibly. That would solve that problem. And then I could attach it to the rod. PCB part to lock him. No, the PCB can't be part of the lock. I don't know how that would. Yeah, the PCB it's on the wrong plane to be part of the locking. No, it's on the wrong plane. The PCB plane. Here's the PCB. I should have shown it before. Like it can't be part of the locking. The locking's sideways, and the PCB's done. Like I'm not changing the PCB design to be able to put a groove in to stop a locking, and I don't want to put the tension on the PCB. That limits then. You know what I mean? Because the PCB is something that can't be tweaked or changed. And the PCB is stuck to the screen. It's physically attached to the screen. There is no lip or anything. So, so you can see there's room in here. Like I've maybe got a bit more dimension that I can increase this, but I won't know till I've got one actually built, like a PCB built. But I'm assuming if the hinge was higher, oh God, that makes the bottom deeper. I have the ability for this section here to be bigger. How big? Well, I'm not sure, but assuming my dimensions are correct, is that touching? Maybe. Make it. Okay. So that's a much bigger section for locking. You know what I mean? Like that gives me, rather than doing it around here, this gives me a. I mean, it doesn't need to be locked when it's folded down. When it's folded down, it just stays down. It's really only when it's open that it needs to be locked. So how would I make it do it when it's open, but when it's down, it ignores it? I know I did that on this side just because we could see it easily, but it's gonna have to be on. I need to sketch this up on paper, I think, as to how it's going to attach, like how it's going to be constrained. Just let it rest on the USB cable. Yeah. Oh boy. Or we go back to your, Christopher, back to one of your earlier design. Oh, what is that? Back to one of your earlier, was it your idea? This one? Yeah. So your one is here. Catch you later, Stefan. Thanks for your help. Something like this, back to this, but where this isn't rubber, right? It's just a whatever, and this gets pushed out to disengage and back in. So this is on the end of the rod, and the rod has got a spring still. So the mechanism that locks and unlocks is on the outside at the end. So one end you push, and the other end disengages, rotate, and then comes back and locks in place. That way we're trying to not get this on the inside, which means we have a little bit more size that we can work with. Does that make sense? Use a pair of M2 tooth metal lock washers. Yeah, it'd be much easier to iterate on than trying to do it inside and work out how, because this would, tension, open, closed, needs to push that way. Might be easier to assemble, I don't know, or not. Could just use a pair of M2 tooth metal lock washers as the ratchet. I don't understand, Paul. Like, how is the you mean the nut? So that the hex of the nut is the thing that gets unlocked and relocked? Is that what you mean? So are you saying, I don't know if this is what you're saying or not, but if, it's an interesting idea. I'm not sure if this is what you're saying, but potentially Polygon. Think what do I need? Hang on, just M2, nut, M2. I mean, that would have to be threaded on one end. I don't really want to go threaded. Didn't want to go threaded. But okay, yeah, so 5. So 2.5. Yeah, that won't fit. A nut won't fit. That's an M2 nut there, right? And as you can see, it's a bit big. I'd have to move the hinge position. Well, unless, so that gives me 1, depending on its orientation, so 1, I can't rotate that now. Okay, 1 second. Let me do that again. I want to do it on the where's my, I didn't save it. That's annoying. Create polygon. The problem is using a hex nut, I can't get it flat. I can't get it into a locking position, right? Because I could only, each one of these rotations, right, is a position. So if that position there is for flat, I don't know what position I'd end up with. What angle is that? Um, 60 degrees, so 30. Look, that'll give me a 30-degree angle. That could work. That could actually work. Because I don't need every side of the locking. 2.5. It's gonna have to be more, but it's like 2.5, 5 because of the tolerance. But I just need enough. I've got that angle there, that angle there, that angle there, and some of that one to lock the nut in place, right? Yeah, I don't want to fold out. I want to solve this without a fold out. If I was to use a nut, thanks, mate. Okay, right. I didn't want to, but if this is a threaded rod, by the way, I'm using 2.5, but I've also got, just for argument's sake, I've got M2 rod as well. Right? It seems flimsy. It'll work fine once it's, you know, it's a length of 80. It doesn't matter if it's got flex, it's being held in. If I can get M2, or okay, M2.5 threaded, I didn't want to go threaded, but I can in this case. If I went threaded, what I could do is I could do exactly the same thing where I've got these holes, I've got the cutouts for the nuts, and I could put 2 nuts along it and I could thread them in. I don't have to worry about how I'm going to attach the nut, right? Because I can use 2 nuts. Because they're screwed on, they won't move, right? Heck, instead glue it on the end. No, I don't want it on the end. I'll tell you why. Well, ideally I want them inside, because one of them, so if when I push with the spring, they both move across, right? And so I can turn whatever, and then when they come back, one of them locks into the top and one of them locks into the bottom. And they can't rotate independently like this because they're locked in. Right? One would have to turn one way and one would have to turn the other way. Which would then, that would allow me to lock both halves without needing any other constraint on it, because one is being locked into one or the other, and disassembly would just be a matter of unscrewing the rod, right, which takes them out. So unscrew the rod, you put the nuts in place, you screw the rod in, and you just have to have it blocked on, you know what I mean? Like, so the nuts would hold the rod in. Do you understand? So it would lock the rod in and would allow me to lock both halves. I think that could be the solution. That could actually be the solution. I've probably lost everyone now. It's been going for just over 2 hours. So does everyone understand what I'm saying? I wish I had some really long nuts. Do I have long nuts? Probably not. Not M.2 anyway. Bear with me a second. Let me see what I can find here. And then some M3 nuts. M3 nuts. 2 magnets locking up state. I got no way of mounting magnets. And yeah, I don't know if magnets aren't really going to work for what I want to do, I don't think. Bear with me a second. One. Yeah, wrong. This is the wrong size, everything I'm working on right now, but this might be able to show you what I mean. They can be lock nuts, but they don't have to be lock nuts. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I mean, lock nuts will stop them from moving, but I don't think they'll move anyway. So if you just look at this right now, okay. So if you think that there's a spring on this end, right? So you can push it like this. It can go in and out. When the spring is pushing it back, these are engaged with each half. This one is, let's say, on the bottom, locked to the bottom, and that's locked to the top. This one can't rotate. I guess it could rotate out. Right, and that could rotate closed. The problem with locking nuts is they, I don't think I've got any M. Do I have? I've got some M3 locking nuts downstairs. I don't have any M3 locking nuts here. Hang on. M3 watches, M2 2.5 nut, 2.5 sunk. Where's my locking nut? M2.5 locking nut here. Okay. The problem with locking nuts is you can't easily get them on, right? So here's M2.5 and M2.5. Oh, it's an M3. Oh my God, they sent me I ordered M2.5 locking nuts and they sent me M3 locking nuts, I think. Oh, no, maybe not. Is that M2? Did I pull this out of an M2 box? Oh, I pulled that out of an M2 box. No, it's an M3. What the? Oh my God. Okay, well that sucks. I thought I had M2.5 locking nuts. Well, that's a locking nut, and that's moving way too freely. Fucking all this shit locking nuts I bought from China. Okay, that one's locking. That one didn't lock. This one's locking. The problem with the locking nut is you can't get them on, right? So I can't touch. But a locking nut won't actually go on. It's a locking nut. I need it to be able to freely move all the way down to get it in place. Yeah, that's... Well, no, you can double nut it. Okay, so here's the thing. Do you ever double nut? Okay, if I double nut this... I mean, they can... The problem with double nutting them and getting them exactly in the same position is the hard bit. I don't know if you can. Because if you can't... Yeah, you can't get them in exactly the same position. That locks it. That can't rotate, but that won't lock into the thing anymore. Damn it. Brass coupler or just a couple standoff. What's getting off topic now? Huh? What? No, this was a good idea. It's just, but yeah, you're right. They'll move, they'll rotate freely, and yeah, that one's unfortunately not. Oh well, bummer. Oh, double nutting. Okay, I get it now. I get it. The only way a locking nut will work is if it's at the end, right? to disengage, rotate, and lock it back in again. But the problem with that is that then lets it turn. Even when it's locked, I still have to lock this to the other half, which I can't do. Or the only way I can do it is to make it non-disassemblable. Use a deep socket in a drill to run the locking nut down. No, it's got to be done inside the case assembly. It can't be done outside it. Once it's on, so yeah, it's got to be, the whole thing was about being able to assemble and disassemble it. Right? It needs to be put on when the rod's are already inside the hinge. So that won't work. And I'm not going to sit there with a pair of pliers and a drill and sit there trying to get every single one of them on. Like, again, I need to be able to produce these. It's not a one-off. Can the screw be the rod? Well, it's the same problem. No, it can't. We're not doing magnets. Magnets aren't going to work. You can't get, yeah, magnets aren't going to work. They won't be strong enough. I've got no way of inserting them. And they're just, yeah. Again, if I've got to use 30 magnets. Nothing's done. So I've got a solution already. I just need to work out how I'm going to build a mechanism that's going to be strong enough in such a small section. That's all. But I've got ideas now. Like, I've got how's it going to be pushed to disengage? How's it going to be put together? How's it going to be constrained? That's all solved. It's now just a matter of, look, the nut would have been nice because it's an easy metal item that I could put on, metal, whatever, where I don't have to 3D print something. That's why that would have been nice. But it needs to be able to not move freely on the rod like that. So I just need to go back to, but otherwise I've got a solution, I think. My final simple suggestion in Discord now. Okay. With a spring behind. Spring behind meaning you push this. Right, but when it's locked, again, it's the compliant issue, right? Like, this still has the assembly problem, doesn't it? So that's the hex. So you got, there's a hex nut, right? So when you push it, I get it when, okay, so when it's locked in place like that, this top, what's stopping, I get that this top is locked to that. What's stopping this from spinning though? The whole thing spinning. Put it in the rod for extra friction. Yeah, it's not enough friction though, Graham. Like, I think it would wear the plastic pretty quickly. So like, what's stopping? So I get that that's locked to the bottom. Add a better image for the green part. Right, so it moves when it's pushed. But I don't understand still how it locks into the blue section. Like, you need to push it so it disengages from the blue and the green. So it needs to be able to push out both. So it needed really far, like push really far. Catch you later, Dave. Yeah, hopefully I'll have this sold by next week and I'll have the new PCBs done and I'll be able to show you it all working. So push from both. Yeah, I don't think 1 millimeter each will be enough. You'll be able to push through that. That'll easily destroy the 3D print. That won't be enough to grip it. But I can use, I've got all sorts of length standoffs. Right? So it can be a long nut. That's fine. But then it needs to be able to push far enough to disengage all of that, right? One millimeter will be enough for normal use. No, I don't agree. When you say normal use, the second it breaks, the whole device is dead, right? Like it can't be used as intended anymore. So that would be a tolerance I would never be happy with. Sorry, it's got to be long-term durable. But I've got short standoffs, which, you know, where there could be like 3 millimeters on each bit, but it needs to be able to then compress that far. But then that makes a long button, correct? Which sticks out, which looks yuck. But or um button on both sides. Half this. Yeah, I was just thinking that, not a button on both sides, but thing on both sides. But you could do button on both sides, one locks one and one locks the other. But then what prevents? Yeah, it's still not gonna. What's the shortest standoff I've got? Hang on, I'm just looking for stand. 6 millimeters. Okay, I've got 6 millimeter ones. That's not terrible. Like a button that sticks out 6 millimeters. And it doesn't have to stick out 6. Like it can just be 4 millimeters sticks out. I can just use 4, like 2 millimeters of each. So if that was on a, okay, I'm thinking through this in my head. It would still have to be on a rod. Well, not really. This could just be all. How would I assemble it? I'd still have the issue of how do I assemble it. If it was assembled open and this was pushed through, could even bits be screwed in. but then a spring on the other side. Okay, I'm gonna have to I have to flesh this out. But if this could then be independent of the rod, right? It wouldn't need the rod going through any of this. The rod could be down the other end as part of the hinge. Well, the spring doesn't even have to be around the rod, but it could be. But it wouldn't have to be around the rod. It could just be in a circular cavity, right? But yeah, the rod's needed for the hinge, but it's not needed for this mechanism. Yeah, that's actually interesting. Okay. See my previous comment. The nut head engages a nut-shaped hole in both parts when not pressed, but disengages. Yeah, that's what this is, Paul. That's what this diagram is showing. That the blue part and the green part, they both have to be engaged on the same nut or standoff or whatever to lock them in place, and they both have to be disengaged to unlock them. The issue is going to be having enough, like having it, like if it on a 2mm nut, having only 1mm each for each part to lock onto isn't enough. You know, that would be quite easy to push on that and have the plastic deform around the nut, right? It needs to be a bit more. Only one needs to be disengaged. Yes. Well, sure. That's true. That's true. Only one needs to be disengaged. Good point, both of you. Well done. I think we might have a solution that should be, I'm sure something will pop up that I haven't thought of, but that should be assemblable and disassemblable. Well, yeah. Actually, right. There's one problem with this. There's one problem with this, and it's a big problem. Yeah? I don't have space for any of this. I'd have to recreate the entire case to fit this. Okay? That's the only thing. As I showed you here, yeah, just before you get too excited, that's the nut shape. I already don't have space for the nut, let alone something around the nut to lock into. Yeah, that's a little bit bigger than what I have right now. So just keep that in mind. It's going to need a pretty decent redesign of the case. Yeah, I know, but it's not, as I'm saying, it's not 100% straightforward. But look, it's definitely a good idea. I mean, I can eat into the bottom, and this can stick, like, that's fine. And it only needs to be at that one end, right? I mean, ideally, you know, assuming Oh, Johnny's got a better solution. Assuming that one end is enough to lock it without making it flex too much or anything, then, you know, this could look exactly like it does now. And I just have to worry about a mechanism on this side. And I've got this entire length here to do it. So, yeah. What's your solution, Johnny? Oh, coffee time. That's my solution. Jesus. Wow. That was a big yawn. Okay. Almost 3 hours I've been going. Only 25 people still watching, if that. So, I think we have a solution. Big thank you to everyone who contributed with ideas and stuff. I hope I wasn't too argumentative. No worries, Bland. Thanks for joining. It was good to see you again. Well, good to see your name again. Didn't see you. Hopefully I wasn't too argumentative on all of that. And you see, look like we found a solution. And go to the left of the nut head in this picture. To the left. Yeah, it would have to be on to the left. It's got to be on the compression side. The problem with, I'm going to have to put it on the other side of the thing though. What did I just do? That one. It's actually going to have to be on this side. Because this side, I don't have space for the spring and compression because that's where the battery cable section. This cannot change. That spacing here cannot change. So I don't have enough room really to do on this side, but I've got stacks of room to do it on this side, as you can see. Well, actually, no, that's not true because I've got mounting holes on both. Oh, man. Bloody PCB mounting holes. So I definitely don't have that size. That'll actually interfere with the nuts. Oh, for the PCB. Far out. Unless I don't populate one corner and I don't put a screw on that side. So I just have 3 screws holding the PCB together to the case. I might have to do that. Okay, anyway, we've got a plan. We've got a couple of ideas. I just need to make one and get it working. And I think the one using these nuts, this last idea, is going to be the easiest probably to get working. So thank you all. Longest screw to have the screw head past the hole and have the compliant further down. Yeah, could do that too. We'll keep jumping for. Okay, so the whole compliant stuff could. There's still a buttonhole here. Well, okay, so the compliant stuff could happen here, further back.
Cian, Chad has disconnected.
Okay. Could happen here with a long screw. So there can be a screw at this end for the button and then a rod on the other end. Yeah, I'll work it out. I have to find old pins. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. I think that was good. That was great brainstorming. So who says chat can't design stuff? Of course chat can design stuff. Hopefully I'll have a working version of this next week to show everyone. Yeah, I'm excited to get this going and and show you all what the finished thing looks like. Very excited. Funny enough, I have a box of old pens next to me to be disassembled. Cool. Well, I'm going to have to maybe do a call out to get springs. Nah, I'll just go buy some pens. Anyway, I'll work it out. Bye, everyone. Thank you. I'm going to go get a coffee. Have a great week, and I will catch you all next week. Thanks again for your help. Much appreciated. Bye.